You know, when we think about fasting, our minds usually jump straight to food, right? But what about water? It turns out fasting sets off this incredibly complex chain of events inside our bodies, especially around hydration, and it goes way beyond just feeling a little thirsty. So let's dive in and find out what's really going on.
So here's the big question we're tackling today. What actually happens to your body's water balance when you stop eating for a bit? Now, you might think the answer is obvious. You just get dehydrated. End of story. But, oh, the science tells a much, much more interesting tale.
To really understand this story, we've got to look past the most obvious signal. We need to go beyond that simple feeling of thirst and start digging into the more subtle clues our bodies are sending out.
Yeah, that feeling of a dry mouth, that's really just the tip of the iceberg. See, your body has these super sophisticated systems that are constantly monitoring your internal environment, and they communicate in ways that are way more complex than just a simple, hey, go grab a glass of water.
Okay, so one of these key signals is something called serum uric acid, or SUA for short. Just think of it like a little metabolic messenger in your blood. Scientists keep a close eye on it because it can tell them a ton about your hydration levels and, really importantly, how well your kidneys are doing their job. And yeah, during a fast, these levels can sometimes creep up.
But here is where it gets super fascinating. A study by Ocampano and his team looked at patients with type 2 diabetes and found that while markers like uric acid can definitely change, the body is just amazing at protecting other vital things. In their research, key electrolytes, we're talking sodium and potassium, they stayed perfectly stable. This is a perfect example of how your body is constantly, tirelessly working to maintain balance, even when it's under stress.
Now this is a really crucial point. Not all fasts are the same, not even close. This specific way you fast, plus your own personal health, can totally change how your body responds when it comes to hydration.
Context is without a doubt everything. For example, research from Waza and Rether shows that athletes, who are obviously more active, have different baseline levels of body water and salt. And another study by Wark's team highlights something you might expect. Your daily drinking habits matter a lot. Someone who doesn't drink much water to begin with is going to have a totally different response to fasting than someone who's always sipping on something.
Let's get really specific for a second. There was this great study on Ramadan fasting that looked at saliva. They found some pretty localized changes. The calcium levels in saliva went down, and the pH actually went up a little bit. But here's the kicker. The overall flow of saliva and other key electrolytes, totally unchanged. It just goes to show how targeted the body's response can be. And in this case, it might even affect your oral health.
Okay, let's talk about the pure power of water itself during a fast. I want you to just focus on this number for a second. 4%.
So what's so special about 4%? Well, a 2022 study by Neurois found that for people who are fasting, just drinking plain old water actually decreased their blood glucose levels by 4%. How cool is that? And why? Well, it's because water does so much more than just quench your thirst. It's essential for flushing out metabolic waste, and that includes extra sugar. The point is, water is an active player in your metabolism.
All right, so we've looked at metabolic markers and the direct effects of drinking water. Now let's peel back another layer of this onion and get into the really deep connection between fasting, your hormones, and your kidneys. So check this out. Research from Al Kurd and colleagues uncovered this incredible chain reaction. When you fast for a prolonged period, like during Ramadan, it can actually throw off your body's internal clock, your circadian rhythm. This, in turn, messes with your hormone levels, especially the stress hormone cortisol. And those hormonal shifts send direct signals to your kidneys, changing the whole game of how they manage your body's fluids and electrolytes. And I really can't stress this enough. Your kidneys are the absolute master regulators here. They're working 24/7 to keep everything in perfect balance. And while most of the research we're talking about is on humans, it's worth pointing out that animal studies, like one from Sanjari, also back this up, showing that physiological stress can definitely impact how well the kidneys work. Okay, so we've gone through all these complex interactions, these hormones, these electrolytes, the kidneys working overtime. What's the big takeaway? What does it all boil down to for you and me? Let's bring it all together. The conclusion from all this research, when you put it all together, is crystal clear. Making sure you stay hydrated by drinking enough fluids during the times you aren't fasting is absolutely fundamentally crucial. And this isn't just about feeling good, it's about supporting these deep, essential biological processes. So, what are the big things to remember from all this? Well, proper hydration, especially around your fasting window, supports your metabolic health. It helps your kidneys do their incredibly important job,
It reduces the overall physiological stress on your body, and, as we saw, it can even play a role in your oral health. See? It's all connected.
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. We often talk about fasting as a way to give our digestive system a well-deserved break. And that's true. But as we've just seen, other parts of your body, like your kidneys, might actually be working harder than ever. So the question is, while you're giving one system a rest, are you remembering to support the silent heroes working tirelessly to keep you in balance?